Elena stood outside the old jewelry shop on Maple Street, her heart beating fast. The cold October wind made her pull her thin jacket closer. In her hand, she held a small gold ring, the only valuable thing she had left. This wasn't just any ring. It belonged to her grandmother, who gave it to her on her wedding day 5 years ago. "Keep this safe, my child," her grandmother had said. "It will bring you luck when you need it most." Now Elena wondered if this was that moment. She looked through the dusty window of the jewelry shop. Inside, she could see the owner cleaning some watches. Her stomach made a loud noise. She hadn't eaten anything since yesterday morning. But that wasn't the worst part. At home, her 3 little children were waiting for her to bring food. Sophia was 8 years old and always asked smart questions. Miguel was 6 and loved to play soccer with his friends. Little Carmen was only 4 and still believed that Mommy could fix everything. But Elena couldn't fix this. She couldn't fix any of it. 6 months ago, her husband Roberto died in an accident at his construction job. One day he went to work like always, kissing her goodbye and promising to bring ice cream home for the kids. That evening, instead of Roberto, 2 men in hard hats came to her door. They looked sad and couldn't meet her eyes. "We're sorry," one of them said. "There was an accident." Elena remembered falling to her knees right there on the doorstep. The neighbors came running, but their words sounded far away. All she could think about were the children inside, watching cartoons and waiting for Daddy to come home with ice cream. After the funeral, the bills started coming. Hospital bills, funeral costs, and all the money Roberto usually brought home was gone. Elena tried to work more hours at her 2 jobs. She cleaned offices at night and worked at a small restaurant during lunchtime. But it wasn't enough. Last week, the landlord came to her door. He was a kind man, but business was business. "Elena, I'm sorry," he said. "I know things are hard, but I need the rent money. I have my own family to think about." He gave her the eviction notice. She had 7 days to pay or they would have to leave. That was 3 days ago. This morning, Sophia asked why there was no milk for her cereal. Miguel wanted to know when they would go grocery shopping again. Carmen just looked at her with big, trusting eyes and said, "I'm hungry, Mommy." Elena told them she would get food today, but her purse had only $3 and some coins. Not enough for a meal, not enough for milk, not enough for anything that would help. That's when she remembered the ring. She pulled it from her jewelry box where it had been sitting safely for years. The gold was still shiny, and there was a small diamond that caught the light. Maybe it was worth something. Maybe it was worth enough. But standing here now, Elena felt like she was betraying her grandmother. This ring was supposed to be for special moments, for celebrations, not for selling when everything went wrong. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. There was no time for crying. Her children needed her to be strong. She took a step toward the shop door, then stopped. What if the ring wasn't worth much? What if the shop owner offered her only a few dollars? What if it still wasn't enough? More people walked past her on the busy street. Everyone seemed to have somewhere important to go. Everyone seemed to have their lives figured out. Elena felt invisible, like a ghost watching the real world happen around her. She thought about Roberto. What would he do? He always found a way to make things better. When their car broke down, he fixed it himself. When the roof leaked, he climbed up there with tools and made it stop. He never gave up on anything. "I won't give up either," Elena whispered to herself. She was about to walk into the shop when she noticed a man standing nearby. He was looking at the same jewelry shop window, but something about him seemed different. He wore a nice coat that looked expensive but not too fancy. His hair was gray at the sides, and he had kind eyes that reminded her of her father. The man seemed to notice her too. He looked at her face, then at the ring in her hand. He didn't stare rudely, but she could see he understood something was happening. Elena felt embarrassed. Did she look that desperate? Could the stranger see how scared she was? She turned away, but the man took a small step closer. "Excuse me," he said gently. "I hope you don't mind me asking, but are you okay?" His voice was warm and didn't make her feel judged. Elena looked at him again. Most people on the street ignored her, but this man seemed to really care about her answer. Elena's first thought was to say everything was fine. That's what she always told people. But something about this stranger made her feel safe. Maybe it was because he had kind eyes. Maybe it was because she was so tired of carrying this weight alone. She started, then stopped. How could she explain everything to someone she just met? The man waited patiently. He didn't rush her or look at his watch like he had somewhere else to be. "I need to sell this ring," Elena finally said, holding it up. Her voice was shaky. "My children haven't eaten in 3 days." The words came out before she could stop them. She felt her face get hot with shame. Why did she tell this stranger about her problems? But the man didn't look shocked or uncomfortable. Instead, his expression became even more gentle. "That must be very difficult," he said softly. "What are your children's names?" Elena was surprised by the question. Most people would have just walked away or given her some quick advice. But this man wanted to know about her kids. "Sofia, Miguel, and Carmen," she said. Just saying their names made her feel a little bit better. "Those are beautiful names," the man said. "How old are they?" 8, 6, and 4, Elena replied. She found herself wanting to tell him more. "Sofia is so smart. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up. Miguel loves sports, and Carmen still believes everything will be okay because Mommy is here." The man smiled at that. "She sounds like a wise little girl." Elena felt more tears coming. "I don't want to let them down. I've never had to ask for help before. Roberto and we always managed on our own." "Roberto was your husband?" the man asked gently. Elena nodded. "He died 6 months ago. Construction accident. Since then, everything has been falling apart, and I don't know how to fix it." The stranger was quiet for a moment, like he was thinking about something important. "My name is David," he said finally. "And I think we should talk more about this. But not here on the street. Are you hungry?" Elena realized she was very hungry, but she shook her head. "I can't. I need to get money for food first. My children are waiting." "I understand," David said. "But maybe we can solve both problems at the same time. There's a small cafe right around the corner. We could get some food to take to your children, and we could talk about other ways to help besides selling your grandmother's ring." Elena looked at him with surprise. "How did you know it was my grandmother's ring?" David smiled. "Lucky guess. But I can see how much it means to you. Sometimes there are other options we haven't thought of yet." Elena felt a small spark of hope for the first time in days. This stranger seemed genuine, and he wasn't trying to rush her or take advantage of her situation. "I don't understand why you want to help me," she said honestly. "Sometimes we meet people exactly when we're supposed to," David replied. "What do you say? Can we try to figure this out together?" Elena looked at the jewelry shop, then at the ring in her hand, then at David's kind face. Maybe her grandmother was right. Maybe this ring would bring her luck when she needed it most. But maybe the luck wasn't in selling it. Maybe the luck was in meeting someone who cared enough to help. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's try." David led Elena to a small cafe called Sunny Side Up, just around the corner from the jewelry shop. The warm smell of fresh bread and coffee hit Elena as soon as they walked in. Her stomach reminded her again how hungry she was. "Please sit wherever you'd like," David said, gesturing to the empty tables. It was mid-afternoon, so the lunch crowd was gone. Elena chose a table near the window. She could see the street from here, which made her feel less trapped. David sat across from her and picked up 2 menus from the table. "Order whatever you want," he said. "And let's get some food to take home to the kids, too." Elena opened the menu and immediately felt overwhelmed. Everything seemed so expensive. A sandwich cost $12. Soup was $8. She started doing math in her head, trying to figure out what would be cheapest. David watched her for a moment, then gently closed her menu. "Elena," he said kindly, "please don't worry about the cost right now. Just think about what you and your children would enjoy eating." "I can't let you spend a lot of money on us," Elena protested. "I don't even know you." "You're right, we just met," David agreed. "But sometimes that doesn't matter. Tell me, if you saw a mother with 3 hungry children and you had the ability to help, wouldn't you do it?" Elena thought about that. "Of course I would." "Then let me do the same thing," David said simply. The waitress came over, a friendly woman with gray hair tied back in a ponytail. "What can I get you folks today?" she asked. David looked at Elena encouragingly. I think I'd like the chicken soup," Elena said hesitantly. "And maybe some sandwiches to take home." "Ham and cheese is fine. Simple things. How many sandwiches?" the waitress asked. 3 small ones for my children, please." David spoke up. "Let's make those full-size sandwiches. And add some of those chocolate chip cookies I saw in the display case. 6 cookies. Also, what kind of soup do kids usually like?" "The chicken noodle is popular with families," the waitress said. "Perfect. Can we get a large container of that to go? And maybe some milk too? Elena felt tears starting again. This is too much, she whispered. It's exactly the right amount, David said firmly but kindly. While they waited for the food, David asked Elena more about her family. She found herself talking about things she hadn't shared with anyone since Roberto died. Sofia is so responsible, Elena explained. Sometimes I think she's growing up too fast. She tries to help take care of the little ones when I'm working. Yesterday I came home and found she had made peanut butter sandwiches for Miguel and Carmen. But we ran out of peanut butter 2 days ago, so it was just bread. David listened carefully to every word. Miguel is the opposite, Elena continued. He's still so innocent. He keeps asking when Daddy is coming home from his long work trip. I don't have the heart to remind him again. And Carmen, Elena smiled despite her sadness. Carmen talks to Roberto's picture every morning. She tells him about her dreams and asks him to watch over us. They sound like amazing children, David said. Roberto must have been a wonderful father. He was, Elena agreed. He worked so hard for us. Every day, no matter how tired he was, he would come home and play with the kids. He taught Miguel how to kick a soccer ball. He helped Sofia with her math homework. He sang silly songs to Carmen before bed. What kind of work did he do? Construction. He was good with his hands, could build or fix anything. He always said he wanted to save up enough money to start his own business someday. He had so many plans. Elena's voice trailed off. David was quiet for a moment. What about you? What did you do before everything changed? I was studying to be a nurse, Elena said. I was halfway through the program when Roberto died. I had to drop out because I needed to work more hours and we couldn't afford the tuition anymore. Did you enjoy studying nursing? Elena's face lit up a little. I loved it. Helping people. Learning how to make them feel better when they're scared or hurt. Roberto used to joke that I was already a nurse because I took such good care of our family. The waitress brought Elena's soup and a large bag of food to go. The smell was incredible. Elena took a spoonful of the soup and closed her eyes. It had been so long since she had a hot meal. Good? David asked. Amazing, Elena said. Thank you. Really, I don't know how to thank you enough. You don't need to thank me, David replied. But I do want to ask you something. Besides the rent money, what would help your family the most right now? Elena thought about it. Honestly? A better job. The restaurant where I work only gives me lunch shifts 3 days a week. And the cleaning job is just 4 hours at night. Even if I work both jobs, it's not enough to pay for everything we need. What if there were other options? Better jobs? Elena shrugged sadly. I don't have many skills. I never finished high school. I got married young and had Sofia right away. The nursing program was my first time back in school since I was 17. But you said you were halfway through nursing school. That's not nothing. The hospital won't hire me without the full certification. I need at least 6 more months of classes and clinical work. David pulled out his phone and glanced at it. Elena, I hope you don't mind, but I need to make a couple of work calls. Nothing urgent, but I should handle them while we're here. Will that be okay? Of course, Elena said, continuing to eat her soup. David stepped away from the table and made several phone calls. Elena couldn't hear what he was saying, but she noticed he spoke quietly and seemed to be explaining something important to different people. When he came back, Elena was finishing her soup. How was it? He asked. Perfect. And I know Sofia, Miguel, and Carmen are going to be so excited about this food. Elena looked at the big bag of sandwiches, soup, and cookies. This will last us at least 2 days. I'm glad, David said. Elena, I want to ask you something, and I want you to think about it carefully before you answer. Elena looked at him curiously. What if I told you there might be ways to help with more than just today's food? What if there were programs available to help with rent, and maybe even help you finish nursing school? Elena blinked in surprise. What kind of programs? There are organizations that help families in situations like yours. Sometimes they can provide emergency assistance while people get back on their feet. I've never heard of anything like that, Elena said. They don't advertise much. They prefer to work quietly, helping people who really need it. The thing is, these programs look for people who are genuinely trying to improve their situations, not just looking for handouts. Elena felt a flutter of hope in her chest. How would I even apply for something like that? I might be able to help you make some connections, David said carefully. But first, let me ask you this. If someone helped you get back on your feet, what would you do with that opportunity? Elena didn't hesitate. I'd finish nursing school. I'd get a good job that could support my family. And someday, when I was stable, I'd help other people the way you're helping me today. David smiled. That's exactly what I hoped you'd say. You really think there's a chance? Elena asked. I think there's always a chance for people who are willing to work hard and never give up on their family, David replied. Elena felt something she hadn't felt in months. Real hope. Not just hope for getting through today, but hope for a future where she and her children could be okay. Why are you doing this for us? She asked again. David was quiet for a moment. I guess because I believe that when good people go through hard times, it's everyone's responsibility to help them find their way back. Elena reached across the table and touched his hand briefly. Whatever happens, you've already changed our lives today. Sophia, Miguel, and Carmen are going to go to bed with full stomachs tonight because of you. And tomorrow? David asked. Elena smiled, and it was the first real smile she'd had in weeks. Tomorrow I'm going to start believing that things can get better. Elena walked home with the bag of food, feeling lighter than she had in months. When she opened the apartment door, 3 little faces looked up at her hopefully. Mommy! Carmen ran to her and hugged her legs. Did you get food? I did, baby, Elena said, kneeling down to hug all 3 of her children. We have sandwiches and soup and even cookies. Sophia's eyes went wide. Real cookies? Store-bought cookies? Elena laughed. Yes, real cookies. As her children ate their first full meal in days, Elena told them about meeting David at the cafe. She didn't mention selling the ring or how desperate she had been. Instead, she focused on his kindness. He sounds nice, Miguel said between bites of his ham and cheese sandwich. Like Daddy was nice. Yes, Elena agreed. Like Daddy. The next morning, Elena's phone rang while she was getting the children ready for school. She didn't recognize the number. Hello, is this Elena Martinez? A professional-sounding woman asked. Yes, this is Elena. My name is Patricia Williams. I'm calling from the Community Housing Assistance Program. We understand you might be facing some housing challenges? Elena's heart started beating fast. Yes, how did you get my information? We received a referral about your situation. Our program provides emergency rental assistance to families in need. Would you be interested in meeting with me today to discuss your options? Elena couldn't believe what she was hearing. Is this real? Patricia laughed kindly. It's very real. We've helped hundreds of families in our city. Can you meet me at 2 p.m. today? I'm at the community center on Oak Street. After Elena hung up, she stared at the phone in amazement. David had said there might be programs to help, but she hadn't really believed it could happen so fast. She dropped the children off at school and went to the community center. Patricia was a middle-aged woman with a warm smile who made Elena feel comfortable immediately. Tell me about your situation, Patricia said. Pulling out some papers, Elena explained everything. Roberto's death, the mounting bills, her 2 part-time jobs that weren't enough, the eviction notice. How much do you owe in back rent? Patricia asked. $1,500, Elena said quietly. Patricia wrote something down. Our program can cover that amount. We can also help with utilities if needed. Elena felt dizzy. Just like that? Well, there is an application process and we do need to verify your income and expenses. But based on what you've told me, you definitely qualify for emergency assistance. I don't understand how this is happening, Elena said. Yesterday I was going to sell my grandmother's ring and now you have options, Patricia finished. That's what our program is for. But Elena, I want to be clear about something. This assistance is designed to be temporary, to give you time to stabilize your situation. What's your plan for moving forward? Elena thought about her conversation with David. I want to finish nursing school.
I was halfway through the program when my husband died.
If I could complete it, I could get a good job and support my family properly. Patricia's eyes lit up. That's interesting you mentioned nursing. Are you familiar with the hospital's workforce development program? No, what's that? City General Hospital has a program where they hire people to work part-time while they finish their medical training. It's for people exactly like you, those who have some education but need to complete their certification. Elena felt that flutter of hope again. How would I apply for something like that? I happen to know the program director, Patricia said. If you're interested, I could arrange an interview. 2 days later, Elena found herself sitting in the office of Linda Chen, the Workforce Development Director at City General Hospital. The hospital was bigger and more modern than Elena had expected. "I've reviewed your transcript from your previous nursing coursework," Linda said. "Your grades were excellent. Why did you leave the program?" Elena explained about Roberto's death and needing to work more to support her family. "I understand completely," Linda said. "That's exactly why we created this program. We have openings for part-time patient care assistants. The position would give you health insurance for your family, and we would help you complete your nursing certification through evening and weekend classes." Elena couldn't speak for a moment. "Are you offering me a job?" "If you want it, yes. The pay is better than restaurant work, and once you complete your nursing certification, you'd be guaranteed a full-time nursing position here." Elena felt tears starting. "I want it. Yes, I definitely want it. Excellent. When can you start?" That evening, Elena called David to thank him. She still had his number from when he had given it to her at the cafe. "David, I don't know how to thank you," she said when he answered. "Everything you said about programs and opportunities, it's all happening." "I'm so glad to hear that," David said, and she could hear the genuine happiness in his voice. "Tell me what's happened." Elena explained about Patricia, the rent assistants, and her new job at the hospital. "The best part is that they're going to help me finish nursing school," she said. "In 6 months, I'll be a certified nurse." 6 months, David. "My children are going to have a completely different life." "You're going to have a completely different life," David corrected gently. "You did this, Elena. You were willing to do whatever it took to take care of your family. And that strength is what made all of this possible. But if I hadn't met you, you would have found another way," David said confidently. "That's the kind of person you are." Over the next few weeks, Elena's life transformed in ways she had never imagined possible. Her first day at the hospital was nerve-wracking, but her supervisor, Janet, was patient and encouraging. "You're a natural at this," Janet told her after her first week. "The patients already love you, and you have great instincts for patient care." Elena loved the work. She was helping people who were scared and hurting, just like she had been. Every day she learned something new, and every day she felt more confident that she was on the right path. At home, the children were thriving too. Sophia's teacher called to say that Sophia seemed much happier and more focused in class. "She's been worried about adult things for too long," the teacher explained. "Now that she feels more secure at home, she can just be a kid again." Miguel joined the after-school soccer program, something they couldn't afford before. Carmen started talking about Roberto less as a person who was missing, and more as someone who was watching over them from heaven. "Daddy would be proud of us," Carmen announced one evening at dinner. "We're doing good things." "Yes, we are," Elena agreed. 1 month after starting at the hospital, Elena was working the evening shift when she saw a familiar figure in the hallway. David was walking toward the elevator, wearing a business suit and talking seriously with someone in a white coat. Elena was so surprised that she almost dropped the stack of patient charts she was carrying. What was David doing at the hospital? Was he sick? Was someone in his family sick? She watched him get on the elevator without noticing her. For the rest of her shift, Elena wondered about the coincidence. Out of all the places in the city, what were the chances that David would be at the same hospital where she now worked? The next day, Elena asked Janet about it during their break. "I saw someone yesterday who looked familiar," Elena said carefully. "An older man with gray hair, wearing an expensive suit. He was talking to one of the doctors." Janet raised her eyebrows. "Did he look important? Like someone who might be on the board of directors?" "I don't know, maybe. Why?" "We had a board meeting yesterday. All the big donors and hospital administrators were here. If he looked really official, he might have been one of them." Elena felt confused. David had seemed like a regular person when she met him. Someone who just happened to be kind enough to help a stranger. But thinking back, she realized he had been well-dressed, and he had seemed very confident when he made those phone calls at the cafe. "Janet," Elena said slowly.
"How does someone usually get referred to the workforce development program?"
"Usually through social services or community organizations," Janet replied. "But sometimes board members or major donors make direct referrals for people they think would be good candidates." "Why?" Elena's mind was racing. "Just curious." That evening, Elena decided to do something that felt a little like investigating. She looked up the hospital's website on her phone and found a page about their board of directors and major donors. She scrolled through photos and names, looking for anyone who resembled David, and then she found it. David Rothschild. Chairman of the board, founder of the Rothschild Foundation. Elena stared at the photo on her phone. It was definitely him, the same kind eyes, the same gentle smile. But now she knew the truth. David wasn't just a kind stranger who had helped her buy groceries. He was one of the most powerful philanthropists in the city. And somehow he had been walking around in regular clothes, meeting people like her. Elena felt dizzy as she read more about him. The Rothschild Foundation had donated millions of dollars to build the very hospital where she now worked. They funded housing assistance programs, educational scholarships, and workforce development initiatives. All the help she had received, the rent assistance, the job, the nursing program, it had all come from organizations connected to David. Elena didn't know how to feel. Was she grateful? Embarrassed? Confused? She had thought she was just lucky. Elena spent 3 days trying to figure out how to contact David. She couldn't just call the number he had given her and demand answers. That felt too confrontational. But she also couldn't stop thinking about the fact that he had been helping her without telling her who he really was. Finally, she decided to ask Janet for advice without revealing too much. Janet, if someone wanted to thank a board member personally for something, how would they do that? Elena asked during their lunch break. Janet looked curious. That's specific. What kind of thank you? Hypothetically, if a board member had helped someone get this job, and that person wanted to express gratitude properly, well, you could write a letter to the hospital administration and ask them to pass it along, Janet suggested. Or if you knew which board member it was, you could probably contact their foundation directly. Most of the big donors have foundations. Elena nodded, trying to look casual. The Rothschild Foundation. Do you know anything about them? Janet's eyes widened. Elena, are you talking about David Rothschild? Did he help you get this job? Elena felt her face get hot. Maybe, I'm not sure. Oh my goodness, Janet said, sitting back in her chair. Elena, do you know who David Rothschild is? I'm starting to understand that he's more important than I thought. Janet leaned forward and spoke quietly. Elena, he basically built this hospital. His foundation donated $40 million for the new wing. He funds half the community programs in this city. He's also known for being incredibly private and humble about his charity work. Elena felt overwhelmed. $40 million? And that's just one donation. The man has probably given away more money than most people ever see in their lifetime. Janet paused. Elena, how exactly did you meet David Rothschild? Elena realized she couldn't avoid the story anymore. She told Janet everything, about being desperate to sell her grandmother's ring, about meeting David on the street, about the cafe and his phone calls. When she finished, Janet was staring at her in amazement. Elena, do you understand what happened to you? Janet asked. David Rothschild doesn't just walk around the city talking to random people. He's usually surrounded by assistants and security. For you to have met him like that and for him to have helped you personally. Janet shook her head. That's not normal. What do you think it means? I think it means he saw something special in you and your situation. David Rothschild is known for his instincts about people. If he chose to help you, it's because he believed you were worth investing in. That afternoon, Elena made a decision. She looked up the Rothschild Foundation's address and decided to go there after work. She needed to see David face to face and understand what had really happened that day on Maple Street. The Rothschild Foundation was located in a beautiful old building downtown. Elena felt nervous as she walked into the elegant lobby. The receptionist sat behind a marble desk, and everything about the place said, "Important and expensive, and can I help you?" The receptionist asked politely. "I'd like to see David Rothschild," Elena said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but could you tell him Elena Martinez is here? He'll know who I am." The receptionist looked skeptical, but she picked up her phone and made a call. "Mr. Rothschild, there's an Elena Martinez here to see you. She says you'll know who she is." There was a pause. "Yes, sir. I'll send her right up." Elena was surprised that it had been that easy. "Take the elevator to the 5th floor," the receptionist said. "Someone will meet you there." When the elevator doors opened on the 5th floor, Elena saw David waiting for her. He looked different in his business clothes and in his own building, more formal and powerful. But his smile was the same. "Elena," he said warmly, "this is a surprise. How are Sophia, Miguel, and Carmen?" "They're good," Elena said. "Really good, actually." That's kind of why I'm here. David gestured toward his office. Please come in. Let's talk. His office was large and impressive, with big windows overlooking the city. But what caught Elena's attention were the personal touches. Photos of children who looked like they might be from some of the programs he funded. Thank you letters pinned to a bulletin board. And small gifts that seemed to have been made by hand. Please sit, David said, gesturing to 2 comfortable chairs by the window instead of the formal desk area. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? I'm okay, Elena said, sitting down. David, I need to ask you something directly. Of course. Why didn't you tell me who you were? David was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the city below. How did you find out? He asked finally. I saw you at the hospital last week. Then I looked you up online. Elena paused. David, I've been working at a hospital that you basically built, living in an apartment that your programs helped me keep, studying in a nursing program that your foundation supports. All this time I thought I was just lucky. David turned to look at her. You were lucky, but not in the way you think. What do you mean? Elena, I walk around this city a lot. I've met hundreds of people in difficult situations. Most of them, I help through the normal channels, our foundation programs, our partner organizations. But sometimes, very rarely, I meet someone who reminds me why I started doing this work in the first place. Elena waited for him to continue. That day on Maple Street, you weren't asking for money or trying to take advantage of anyone. You were trying to sell the one precious thing you had left to feed your children. And when I offered to help, you didn't ask for more or assume it was the beginning of something bigger. You were just grateful for one meal. David stood up and walked to his window. Most people, when they're desperate, they become hard or bitter or demanding. But you talked about your children with such love. You spoke about Roberto with such respect, even though his death had left you in an impossible situation. You had dignity even when you had nothing else. Elena felt tears starting. But why didn't you tell me who you were? David turned back to her. Because I wanted to help Elena the person, not Elena the charity case. If you had known I was David Rothschild, chairman of foundations and donor to hospitals, how would you have acted differently? Elena thought about it honestly. I probably would have been intimidated. I might have asked for more help or felt like I owed you something bigger than gratitude. Exactly. I wanted our interaction to be human to human, not rich person to poor person. I wanted you to accept help because it was offered genuinely, not because you felt you had to impress me or prove you deserved it. Elena understood, but she still felt confused about one thing. All the programs that helped me, the rent assistance, the hospital job, did you arrange all of that? David sat back down across from her. Elena, every single program that helped you exists because they're needed. The Community Housing Assistance Program helps dozens of families every month. The Hospital Workforce Development Program has trained over 100 people in the last 2 years. These aren't programs I created just for you. But yes, I made some phone calls to make sure you got connected to the right people quickly. And I may have mentioned to Patricia and Linda that they should look out for an exceptional candidate named Elena Martinez. Elena felt a mix of gratitude and something else she couldn't quite name. I don't know how to feel about this, she said honestly. I'm grateful, more grateful than I can express. But I also feel like maybe I didn't really earn this opportunity. David leaned forward in his chair. Elena, let me tell you something about earning opportunities. In the 6 weeks since you started at the hospital, Janet has called me twice to tell me what an outstanding employee you are. Not because I asked her to, but because she was so impressed that she wanted to make sure I knew. Elena looked surprised. The patients request you specifically because you make them feel cared for. You're scoring at the top of your nursing classes while working and raising 3 children alone. You started a support group for other single parents at the hospital because you wanted to help people going through what you went through. Elena hadn't realized anyone had noticed the support group. You've earned every opportunity you've been given, David continued. I just made sure the opportunities found you a little faster than they might have otherwise. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Can I ask you something now? David said. Elena nodded. Why did you come here today? You could have just continued with your life, accepted that good things were happening, and never looked back. Elena thought about her answer carefully. Because I felt like I was living a lie, she said finally. All these wonderful things were happening, And I thought it was because I had gotten lucky or worked hard. But it was really because someone with power had decided to help me. I needed to understand why, and do you understand now? Elena considered this. I think so. You help people because you can, and because you think they deserve help. You helped me because you saw that I was trying to take care of my family no matter what it cost me. That's part of it, David agreed. But there's more. What's the more? David smiled. The more is that I believe when we help someone become the best version of themselves, they go on to help others become the best versions of themselves. It's not charity, Elena. It's investment in the kind of world I want to live in. 6 months later, Elena stood in the hospital auditorium wearing a crisp white nursing uniform. She had just passed her final certification exam and was about to be sworn in as a registered nurse. In the audience, she could see Sophia, Miguel, and Carmen sitting in the front row beaming with pride. I now pronounce you certified registered nurses, the hospital administrator announced. Congratulations to our newest class of healthcare professionals. Elena felt tears of joy as she shook hands with Linda Chen, who had become both a mentor and a friend. I'm so proud of you, Linda said. You've worked harder than anyone in your class, and it shows in everything you do. After the ceremony, Elena's children ran up to hug her. Mommy, you look so official, Carmen exclaimed, touching the nurse's pin on Elena's uniform. Daddy would be so proud, Sophia said. And for the first time in almost a year, mentioning Roberto felt like celebrating him rather than mourning him. Elena's life had settled into a rhythm that felt sustainable and hopeful. As a full-time nurse, she earned enough to not only pay their bills, but to start saving money for the children's future. She had moved her family to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood, and the kids were thriving in their new schools. But the change Elena was most proud of had nothing to do with money or career advancement. 3 months after starting her job at the hospital, Elena had noticed other single parents struggling with some of the same challenges she had faced. She started small, just inviting a few other single mothers for coffee after their shifts. They shared advice about childcare, talked about the guilt of working while their kids were home, and supported each other through difficult days. The group grew organically. Soon they were meeting weekly in one of the hospital's conference rooms. Elena found herself becoming the unofficial leader, the person others came to when they needed someone to listen or help them figure out their next steps. You have a gift for this, Janet told her one day. Have you ever thought about making it more official? Elena had been thinking about exactly that. With Linda's help, she wrote a proposal for a formal support program for single parents working in healthcare. The program would offer childcare resources, financial planning help, and peer support groups. The hospital approved the program immediately and offered Elena additional training in peer counseling. Within 6 months, the program was helping over 50 families, and other hospitals in the city were asking Elena to help them start similar programs. 1 year after that desperate day on Maple Street, Elena received an unexpected phone call at work. Elena, this is Patricia Williams from the Community Housing Assistance Program. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Elena remembered Patricia as the woman who had first helped her with rent assistance. Of course, Patricia. How are you? I'm well, thank you. Elena, I'm calling because we're starting a new initiative and your name keeps coming up in our planning meetings. My name? Why, Patricia laughed. Because everyone who works with families in crisis in this city knows about Elena Martinez and the work you're doing at the hospital. We're launching a citywide program to train peer counselors who can help families navigate resources and support systems. We'd like you to be our lead trainer. Elena was speechless for a moment. It would be part-time in addition to your nursing work, Patricia continued. But Elena, you understand both sides of this. You know what it feels like to need help and you know how to provide help effectively. That combination is rare. Elena accepted immediately. Within 2 months, she was training counselors throughout the city, teaching them not just about available resources, but about how to preserve people's dignity while offering assistance. The most important thing to remember, Elena would tell each new group of trainees, is that everyone has something valuable to contribute, even when they're going through the hardest time of their life. Your job is to help them access resources while reminding them of their own strength. Elena thought often about David during this time, but she didn't contact him. She felt like she needed to prove to herself that she could build something meaningful on her own before reaching out again. One evening in December, Almost 18 months after their first meeting, Elena was leaving the hospital after a late shift when she saw a familiar figure in the parking garage. David was getting out of a simple sedan, not a fancy car like she might have expected from someone so wealthy. He looked tired but happy, like someone who had just finished a satisfying day of work. "Elena?" he said, recognizing her even in the dim lighting. "What are you doing here so late?" "I work here," she said, smiling. "I'm a registered nurse now. Night shift." David's face lit up. "Elena, that's wonderful. Congratulations. How are the children?" "They're amazing. Sophia is in advanced math classes now. Miguel made the school soccer team. And Carmen?" Elena paused, smiling. "Carmen decided she wants to be a nurse like Mommy when she grows up." "That's incredible. I'm so happy for all of you." They stood there for a moment, and Elena realized how different she felt compared to their last conversation in his office. Then she had felt overwhelmed and uncertain about her place in the world. Now she felt confident and purposeful. "David, what brings you to the hospital so late?" she asked. "Board meeting ran long," he said. "We were discussing the new community outreach programs. Actually," he paused, looking thoughtful. "There was a lot of discussion about a peer counseling program that's been incredibly successful. The woman running it has apparently transformed how we think about family support services." Elena felt her cheeks get warm. "That might be my program." David stared at her. "Your program? Elena? You're the peer counseling coordinator everyone's been talking about." "I am." David shook his head in amazement. "Elena, do you know that your program is being replicated in 12 other cities? Hospital systems across the country are asking for information about what you've built here." Elena had known her program was successful, but she hadn't realized it had gained that kind of attention. "It doesn't feel like I built something so impressive," she said honestly. "It just feels like I'm helping people the way I was helped." "That's exactly why it works so well," David said. "Elena, I need to tell you something. In tonight's board meeting, your program was cited as one of the most innovative and effective initiatives our foundation has ever supported. The board voted unanimously to expand funding for similar programs nationwide." Elena felt overwhelmed again, but this time in a good way. "David, I need to tell you something too," she said. "I never properly thanked you for what you did for us." "Elena, you don't need to." "Yes, I do." Elena reached into her purse and pulled out a small velvet box. "I want to give you something." David looked confused as Elena opened the box to reveal her grandmother's ring, the same ring she had been planning to sell that day they met. "Elena, I can't take this. That ring means everything to you." "It does mean everything to me," Elena agreed. "That's why I want you to have it." "I don't understand." Elena took a deep breath. "That day on Maple Street, I was going to sell this ring because I thought it was the only valuable thing I had left. But I was wrong. The most valuable thing I had was my determination to take care of my family, no matter what." "You saw that value when I couldn't see it myself?" David listened quietly. "This ring was supposed to bring me luck when I needed it most," Elena continued. "And it did, just not in the way I expected. It brought me luck because it led me to you, and you reminded me who I really was underneath all that fear and desperation." Elena held out the ring. "Now I want it to remind you of something." "What's that?" "I want it to remind you that the work you do, not just the money you give, but the way you see people and believe in them. That work changes everything. Not just for the people you help directly, but for all the people they go on to help." Elena paused, thinking about all the families her program had assisted, all the single parents who now had hope and support. "You helped one desperate mother on a street corner, and now hundreds of families across the country are getting better support because of the program I was able to create. That's the real power of what you do." David took the ring, his eyes bright with emotion. "Elena, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just remember that when you help someone become the person they're meant to be, the effects ripple out farther than you can imagine." They hugged goodbye in the parking garage, two people who had found in each other a reminder of what human kindness could accomplish. As Elena drove home to her children, she thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. 18 months ago, she had been a woman with no options, trying to sell her most precious possession to feed her children. Tonight, she was a registered nurse, a program coordinator, a trainer, and a mother whose children went to bed every night feeling secure and loved. The difference wasn't just money or career success. though those things mattered. The difference was that she had learned to see herself the way David had seen her that first day, as someone with inherent worth and unlimited potential. When she got home, Elena found Sophia doing homework at the kitchen table, Miguel practicing soccer moves in the living room, and Carmen drawing pictures of their family. Everything was normal and peaceful and exactly as it should be.